my friends, once again the royal spin machine is working overtime. The Daily Mail has rolled out yet another carefully polished narrative, this time painting Prince William as the brave hero of the monarchy, a man who, we are told, had the rug pulled from under his feet upon learning that both Kate and Charles had been diagnosed with cancer. But let's pause for a moment. Why is William being elevated as a figure of exceptional bravery, simply for reacting to something that millions of ordinary families around the world face every single day, without fanfare, without royal headlines, and without the protection of PR agencies crafting their every word? The truth is simple. This isn't about bravery. It's about image management. The British press, desperate to prop up a failing monarchy, is once again using William as their golden boy. They want us to forget his arrogance, his cold treatment of his own brother, and his role in the relentless smear campaign against Meghan and Harry. Instead, they spoon-feed us headlines like "Brave Prince William," while real bravery, the kind displayed by cancer patients, their families, and yes, even Meghan and Harry as they faced hostility and isolation, goes unacknowledged. You see, my friends, this is a pattern we've witnessed time and time again. The royal machinery doesn't just respond to events, it manufactures narratives. It selects moments, carefully curates emotions, and presents them to the public wrapped in the glossy paper of sympathy and admiration. But beneath that wrapping lies something far more calculated. William's story is being told not because it's extraordinary, but because the palace needs it to be extraordinary. They need him to be the sympathetic figure, the dutiful son, the caring husband. Why? Because the alternative, a monarchy increasingly seen as out of touch, wasteful and irrelevant, is a narrative they cannot afford. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you saw a headline celebrating the courage of a working-class father who continued to show up at his factory job every day while his wife underwent chemotherapy? When did the media last applaud the single mother who balanced 3 jobs, childcare and hospital visits without complaint? Where are the documentaries, the glossy magazine spreads, the glowing tributes to their resilience? They don't exist, because ordinary people don't sell papers for the establishment press. They don't uphold the illusion of royal exceptionalism. And they certainly don't distract from uncomfortable questions about privilege, inequality, and institutional protection. Think about it. Ordinary people battle cancer every day without glossy headlines. Single mothers, fathers working 2 jobs, children supporting their ill parents, where are their medals? Where are their glowing Daily Mail spreads? But for William, just acknowledging his wife and father's diagnosis is suddenly treated like a monumental act of courage. It's insulting, not just to Meghan and Harry, but to the millions who endure far greater struggles without the privilege of royal insulation. And let's be honest about what that insulation looks like. William has access to the finest medical care money can buy. Private specialists, state-of-the-art facilities, personal nurses, and a support system funded by public money. He doesn't worry about medical bills, about losing his job due to time off, about whether he can afford childcare while spending hours in hospital waiting rooms. The average British family facing a cancer diagnosis, they face all of those concerns and more. They navigate the NHS waiting lists, they juggle finances, they suffer in silence because there's no PR team to tell their story, no palace statement to generate sympathy, no royal correspondent to pen their heroic narrative. Yet William gets the headlines. William gets the praise. William becomes the face of bravery, while real heroes go unnamed and unrecognized. Let's be clear, William's narrative is not about compassion. It's about deflection. While the palace plays up William's so-called bravery, they hope you forget his hypocrisy, forget how he turned his back on his own brother during his darkest hours. They want you to ignore how Meghan and Harry were left to face a brutal storm of racism, bullying and lies without the monarchy's support. Remember, my friends, when Harry and Meghan needed the institution to stand behind them? When Meghan faced relentless attacks on her character, her race, her mental health? Where was William then? Where was his bravery when it meant standing up to the press, confronting the palace machine, defending his own family? He was silent, or worse, complicit. Sources close to the Sussexes have long indicated that William was not just absent during their struggles, he was actively hostile. While Meghan battled suicidal thoughts, while Harry pleaded for help from his family, William reportedly refused to engage, dismissed their concerns, and allowed the smear campaign to continue unchecked. That's not the behaviour of a brave man. That's the behaviour of someone protecting his position, his image, and his path to the throne, regardless of the human cost. And now here comes the PR machine, desperate to crown William the suffering prince. But what has he actually done for others going through cancer? Where is his action, his advocacy, his fight for funding and research? Beyond sound bites, the cupboard is empty. Compare this, if you will, to the actual work Harry and Meghan have done. Their Archewell Foundation has supported mental health initiatives, veterans' causes, and community organisations doing real, tangible work. They've used their platform to amplify marginalised voices, to challenge systemic injustices, to create pathways for change. William? He shows up for photo opportunities. He reads scripted speeches. He accepts accolades for merely existing within a system that celebrates him by default. The palace wants us to believe that William is somehow special because he experienced what millions experience. They want us to see him as a martyr, a figure of noble suffering. But suffering alone doesn't make one noble. It's what you do with that experience that matters. Does William use this moment to advocate for better cancer care access for all? Does he speak out about the disparities in healthcare, the postcode lottery that determines who gets treatment and who doesn't? Does he leverage his enormous privilege to demand better for the least privileged among us? No. He lets the Daily Mail write puff pieces about his courage and moves on. And here's what really galls me, my friends. The same media apparatus that elevates William's every breath as courageous is the same one that relentlessly attacked Meghan for years. They mocked her for holding her baby bump. They criticised her for closing her own car door. They invented stories about her behaviour, her spending, her character, all without evidence, all without consequence. When Meghan spoke about her suicidal ideation during her pregnancy, the press called her manipulative. When she described the racism she faced, they called her divisive. When she chose to step back from royal duties for her mental health and safety, they called her a quitter, a diva, a destructive force. But William acknowledges that his family members are ill, and suddenly he's Winston Churchill. The double standard isn't just obvious, it's grotesque. My friends, do not be fooled by the headlines. True bravery is not William sitting in luxury, lamenting the difficulties of his privileged life while the media claps for him. True bravery is in those countless families who carry on each day despite devastating diagnoses. True bravery is the single parent who wakes at dawn to care for an ailing child before heading to work. True bravery is the cancer patient who faces another round of chemotherapy without the comfort of private suites or personal attendance. True bravery is advocating for others, speaking uncomfortable truths, sacrificing comfort for principle. And let us not forget, Meghan and Harry, stripped of royal protection, have shown more courage in standing up to an entire institution than William has shown in his carefully orchestrated sob stories. They walked away from everything: titles, security, financial support, the only life Harry had ever known, because they refused to participate in a system that was literally killing Meghan. That's courage. That's bravery. That's putting your family's well-being above public approval, above wealth, above tradition. Harry and Meghan have faced death threats, racist abuse, international mockery, and institutional betrayal. And still, they've continued to speak their truth, to build their lives on their terms, to refuse to be silenced by a machine designed to crush dissent. William? He's never had to choose between the institution and his integrity, because he's never challenged the institution. He is the institution. And that's precisely why the press loves him, and why we must view these manufactured narratives with skepticism. So, yes, let the tabloids spin. But we see the truth. William is not a symbol of bravery. He is a symbol of how desperate the monarchy has become to sell a narrative no one is buying. The British public is increasingly questioning the value of a monarchy in modern times. They're asking why taxpayer money funds lavish lifestyles while the NHS crumbles, while food banks multiply, while ordinary families struggle under the weight of economic crisis. The palace knows this. And so they deploy their most reliable weapon, manufactured sympathy. Make William relatable. Make him human. Make him a victim of circumstance so that people forget he's the beneficiary of an outdated, undemocratic system built on hereditary privilege. But my friends, we're not buying it. Not anymore. We stand with the real heroes, the unnamed, the uncelebrated, the ordinary people displaying extraordinary courage every single day. We stand with those who face their battles without PR teams or palace statements, who persevere because they have no other choice, who demonstrate what true resilience looks like. And we continue to stand with Harry and Meghan, who had the courage to say enough, to choose life over duty, to refuse to be silenced, and to build something meaningful on the other side of institutional betrayal. And that, dear friends, is why we must continue to question the stories being fed to us. The monarchy survives on our acceptance of their narratives, our willingness to see them as exceptional when they are merely privileged, our confusion between inherited title and earned respect. But we're not confused. We see clearly, and will continue to speak clearly. Stay with us here on Meghan and Harry Tales, where we uncover the truth behind the royal curtain, where we refuse to let spin replace substance, where we demand accountability from institutions that have operated without it for far too long. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because together we will keep cutting through the spin. Together we amplify the voices the establishment wants to silence. Together we insist that true bravery be recognized wherever it exists, in palaces or in council estates, in headlines or in obscurity. The truth matters, my friends, and we're committed to telling it, no matter how inconvenient it may be for those in power. Until next time, stay vigilant, stay questioning, and never forget, when institutions tell you who the heroes are, it's usually because they're trying to hide who the heroes actually are.